Good morning and welcome to our session on division. Now, just like with the session on multiplication, the purpose for this video is just for you to understand what your student is required to do according to the Texas TEK and how you can help explain it to them if they get confused, and also how you can help them by working at home. So starting with the TEK itself, just like the multiplication, they're required to model concrete division situations and describe a division situation by creating a problem that matches a given division example. And the other part of this is that they need to be able to understand that it is connected to subtraction because it is repeated subtraction. So let's start with a basic problem. I have 12 divided by 3 equals an unknown. Now, when students break down this problem, and this is actually a problem that we've done in class a couple of times now, so this should be very familiar for them, they need to understand that we have a total of 12 items. We're breaking it down into 3 per group, okay? So 12 total items split into groups of 3, okay? And then they need to understand that they're finding the number of groups. So the number of groups is unknown. Now this is a little more complicated than the multiplication, so it's going to take them a little more time to get the grasp of this, but if they can get these pictorial models and understand how to break them down, then they'll be doing a really good job. So let's start with the pictorial, just like we did on multiplication. Now, with the pictorial, for this time, we need to start by drawing 12. Doesn't matter what order they draw them in, as long as they have 12 on the page. Now, you and I as adults, we already have that concept of how to line these up to get those even number of groups, but students won't. So it's very likely that when they draw these, they're going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's going to be very mixed up. And even for me trying to make it mixed up, my mind as an adult already started trying to group these. But for your students, I can almost guarantee that it will not be organized in any way, and that is okay as long as they are able to break it up into the groups. So they start with those 12, and then they need to understand that they need to break them down into groups of 3. This is when I would start with a different color than what they started with. So I'm just going to grab a different colored matte pencil. And again, 12 total items split into groups of 3. This is going to be the big part that they need to understand. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to circle that. There's one group. 1, 2, 3. There's my second group. 1, 2, 3. I can guarantee you they're going to do a group like that. And then 1, 2, 3. It is okay if the groups look odd, as long as they understand that they have 1, 2, 3, 4 groups from that pictorial. It doesn't matter what the shape of the groups look like, just the number of them. So now let's take a look at the array. Now, an easy way for students to do this for division is if they understand that they're going to have 3 in each group. So I'm going to start with 3, and I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. I'll even color these in to make this a little easier for them to understand. So I have 3. Then I'm going to add 3 more. 1, 2, 3. Well, now I've got 6, so I'm halfway there. 1, 2, 3. That makes 9. And 1, 2, 3. So now you're going to see your students every time they add a row going back to the very beginning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This is a good opportunity to help them with skip counting with numbers that they wouldn't be accustomed to. Skip counting by 2s, 5s, and 10s are very, very simple, but skip counting by 3s and the other random numbers is a good skill for them to have because, again, it will go back to that multiplication connection and they'll be able to understand it better. So now they've drawn their 12, and again, they need to break it into groups of 3. So once again, I'm going to put my black pen down. I'm going to grab my matte pencil, and I'm going to circle groups of 3. So there's a group of 3. There's a group of 3. There's a group of 3. And there's a group of 3. So there's the array. Now the final one we need to look at is that area model, just like we did when we were working multiplication. Now, we know, I'm going to make this a little simpler because we know how this works a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my first column, and I'm splitting that into thirds because we have groups of 3. Because your students are probably going to start with that group of 3, and that's perfectly fine. So then I'm going to draw my second one. So now they're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guarantee they're going to count it every time, which is not a bad thing. Now they have the 9, and finally they're going to have their 12. Now, because this is formatted a little bit differently, students may get a little confused about it. Just remind them, drop that original color, grab a matte pencil. You're wanting groups of 3. So this time they're actually going to circle them this way. So there's one group. There's another group. There's another group. And there's another group. Now, if your students do format it the other way, and they start going this way, because some students may make the connection. Well, I remember for multiplication that the amount in each group goes sideways. So they may start going this way and going, well, I know that one row has 3. So there's a second group of 3, a third group of 3, and a fourth group of 3. If they format this that way and then circle their group sideways to match the array in the pictorial, that is perfectly fine. With division, they can take it either way. It's up to them, because in this case, it's not dependent on which factor comes first. So these are the different ways that the students will need to be able to model that. Now, the next step is them understanding the repeated subtraction. Now, in this case, they're going to start with that 12, and they're going to subtract 3. Well, we know that 12 minus 3 is 9. But we aren't to 0 yet. You have to keep subtracting until you're to 0. So we're going to take 9 minus 3 again. That will give us 6. We're not to 0 yet. 6 minus 3 is 3. We're not to 0 yet. And then 3 minus 3. Now we're to 0. So now students need to come back and to understand this, have them circle every time we subtracted 3. And that gives you your 1, 2, 3, 4 groups, just like we matched all of our pictorials. So now students can understand that 12 divided by 3 equals 4. The easiest way for students to describe these problems is give them something concrete to work with. Most of the time I use pencils and pencil boxes. So Zoe has 12 pencils. She puts 3 pencils in each box. How many boxes does Zoe have? Something as simple as that. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't need to be convoluted. At this point, they just need to know the basic understanding and how to break that down. So this is pretty much it for division. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to contact me. I hope that this was helpful and informative, and I hope that you have a great day.